Hello.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. If you would please mute all of yourselves. I did hit a mute all, but it appears some of you have unmuted. So if I appreciate if you all do that. We have a lot to talk about. As you know, today at 3, we are doing our elementary parent meeting. We are joined by all of our elementary principals and some of our assistant principals. And I am going to turn this right over to Dr. Raymond, who is going to kick it off for us. So Dr. Raymond.
Thank you, Dr. Gianni. Good afternoon, South Country families. I am Dr. Rebecca Raymond. I'm principal of Brookhaven Elementary School. We want to welcome and thank you for joining us as part of our elementary reopening parent meeting this afternoon. At this point, we're going to provide you with important as well as helpful information for the start of the 2020-2021 school year. At the end of this presentation, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions to us, and we thank you in advance, as Dr. Gianni just previously mentioned, for having your microphones muted.
Good afternoon, parents. This is Mr. Ginty. I'm the principal of the pre-K program. I will be reviewing 2 slides that focus on our hybrid model for in-person learning. First, you see before you the pre-kindergarten model. It is slightly different from the K-5. That's why we have it separate. You will notice that there is a cohort MT. MT will meet every Monday, Tuesday, and alternate Wednesdays. Cohort HF will meet every Thursday, Friday, and alternating Wednesdays. Please note that when students are not in person, we will provide activities to continue their learning at home. For kindergarten through 5th grade, there are 3 cohorts. Cohort MT students will be in person every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be in remote learning. Cohort HF students will be in person Thursday, Friday, and on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they will have remote learning. Cohort RL is for families who opted for fully remote learning 5 days a week. When scheduling cohorts, we made accommodations for families with children with siblings of different last names. We did this in order to have all siblings within a family within the same cohort. Thank you. And again, thank you for participating and coming to our meeting.
Our district's plan notes the days when students in our special education programs will be attending school within the hybrid model. Students in the highly specialized special ed programs listed above will be attending school in person 5 days per week. Students within inclusion classes will attend in-person classes as a cohort 2 days per week with 3 days for remote learning. The delivery of related services is currently being reviewed. And at the start of the year, we will begin any meetings and they will be conducted in a virtual format. Students within our K through 4 dual language classes will attend in-person classes as a cohort 2 days per week with 3 days for remote learning. Considerations were put into place in balancing our classes by both gender as well as by language learners. A parent meeting for our dual language family is currently being scheduled and a date will be forthcoming. Delivery of E&L services will be conducted both in person as well as virtually. In terms of our special area classes, PE, art, music, as well as library, those will be conducted both virtually as well as in person. In-person special area classes will be conducted with the students within their classrooms, and if appropriate as well as weather permitting, classes will be held outdoors.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rosa Calamiras, Assistant Principal at Brookhaven Elementary School. So classroom social distancing. We have approximately 10 to 12 seats in each classroom. This is to ensure that we are maintaining 6 feet of space between each student and the teacher. And here are some examples of what that would look like. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Allie Olberg, Assistant Principal at Frank P. Long Intermediate School. The next few slides will be covering the health and safety procedures and protocols. Each building has been equipped with both handheld thermometers as well as temperature scanners. There will be 4 to 6 points of entry to the school buildings for student arrival. Specific information will be forwarded by each building with arrival procedures. Prior to leaving for school, we are asking that all parents and/or guardians screen the children and answer the COVID-19 screening questionnaire. If you answer yes to any of the questions, or your child does not feel well on a given day, please keep them home for that day. When students arrive at school, a temperature scanner will take the temperature of each student. If the student displays a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, we will recheck them using the handheld thermometer. If the temperature is confirmed, they will be directed to the isolation room for parent and/or guardian pickup. Thank you.
Good afternoon, South Country community. This is Stephanie Rasinski. I'm the principal of Frank P. Long Intermediate School. Each student and staff member will be required to wear an appropriate face covering at all times. Mask breaks will be provided every 40 to 45 minutes for 5 minutes. Acceptable face coverings include cloth-based or surgical masks that are fitted. We will have masks available at the buildings as well as on the school bus if students are in need. As you are aware, one of the requirements for each school building is to be equipped with a health office as well as an isolation room. The health office will continue to treat injuries, provide medication, and other daily functions. The isolation room will be utilized if a student or staff member presents COVID-19 symptoms. Each building will utilize a common log to assist in the tracing process in the event it is needed. Here is a sample of what it will look like. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mandy Mazziotti. I'm the principal at Verncritz Elementary School. Dismissal of students will be staggered in each building. The data generated from the Parent Transportation Survey will allow us to finalize specific locations for this. And the survey link is located on the district website in both English and Spanish. Both breakfast and lunch will be eaten in the classroom in a grab-and-go model. We encourage families to utilize My School Bucks system to prepay for your child's meals in order to have contactless payments. Recess will be outdoors, weather permitting, and classes will rotate to designated areas. Students will have to wash their hands or use hand sanitizer before and after lunch and recess. As per New York State Education Department guidelines, student cohorts should remain constant. Therefore, all in-house school-based activities, along with after-school extracurricular activities, will be held virtually when feasible. Some activities are listed here. We are encouraging families to sign up to utilize the parent portal. Some of the information that can be found on the portal includes classroom teacher, attendance, and report cards. Kindergarten parents will be receiving a mailing with their login information. Students in other grades that have not already enrolled in the parent portal, there will be directions available on the district website along with a link in this presentation. We are encouraging families to supply updated contact information to your child's school as soon as possible. This includes email and phone numbers. The next two slides include examples of some of the signs that will be displayed throughout the school buildings.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sean Clark. I'm the principal of Kramer Street Elementary School. And students in grades K-5 will follow a schedule similar to the sample below. Student schedules will vary based on the building and/or grade levels. The schedule below offers a framework for each day. Please take a moment to review the next couple of slides. And student attendance. Student attendance will be taken each day for all students. And once again, the golden rule this year is, if your child is sick, please keep him or her home. We're pleased to announce we'll be having virtual pre-K and kindergarten orientation on the morning of September 3rd. The kindergarten virtual orientations will be at 9 a.m. and the pre-K virtual orientations will be at 10 a.m. and with more details to follow. In closing, we know this is a difficult time for everyone. We will work together to provide the best educational experience we can for the children. Please reach out to us if you have any questions at all. We will now begin the question and answer portion of our presentation. Thank you.
I have a question. Is it mandatory to log in for both the morning and afternoon virtual sessions?
No, it is not mandatory to log in for both.
You can log into just one?
Yes, and honestly, if you can't, we want the kids to log into their Google Classroom at least, once during the instructional day. There's a attendance assignment, not an assignment, just a way to log attendance. We don't want to put extra anxiety and pressure on parents. If you can't get your kids on for those whole class meets, that's okay. We just encourage it because we think it'd be great if all the kids could feel a sense of togetherness and part of one class a couple times a day. But no, you're not required to sign on at those times.
Okay, thank you. Also, to the parent portal, the mail that's supposed to go out for kindergarten, do you know when that will be arriving or when that's going out?
I have to double check. You should be receiving it next week,
Okay.
I believe, so shortly, but I can't give you an exact date. We'll try to find out and get that a more concrete date to you.
Thank you.
Are you going to be doing virtual classes?
Virtual classes for
For the students, this way we can watch to see what the teachers are doing. So let's say the English, social studies.
at the elementary level right now. What the plan is for the teachers to record part of their reading, writing, and math lessons each day, typically like the mini lesson and the share. And at some point in the day, get them uploaded to the Google Classrooms. So those students who are at home on those days can watch the lessons. And that can be done at the parents, as the parent schedules permit, or the family schedules permit.
Okay, so that will be done with each course every day?
Right now, we are looking to do it with reading, writing, and math.
Oh, so not all of the courses.
As far as the recording, no, not currently.
And is there a reason why you can't record live? Is there a reason why we can't watch them live?
Well, I think the problem we have is the bandwidth, and we're increasing it. But from what I understand, everyone to be going live almost the whole day, we're not there yet. That's why we're doing the recordings and uploading them. We now have enough to do these quick morning and afternoon meets in the elementary grades, but we just don't have the bandwidth to do more live, as I understand it right now.
Now, Mr. Clark, hello. As far as that recording, now if you have the children that are in person instruction and those lessons are being recorded, what is the turnaround time? Because that is K through 5. Because what about the kids that want to kind of keep to the 9 to 2 schedule? Would it be a long time?
Unfortunately, the best answer I can give is we're not sure yet because we're not there yet. There is a process to upload, to get it in there, and we just don't know exactly how long each of those variables are going to take, to be quite honest. We're going to do the very best we can to support our classroom teachers with a very huge task they have. So we can't give the exact time frame of when all videos would be up at this point.
Okay.
Hi, can you explain?
I have a question about the Google Meets. I spoke to Amy Brennan yesterday, and she said that the students in the classroom wouldn't be accessing Google Meets because it would be too much interference with all those students on a Chromebook at the same time. Because my concern was that I didn't want my child in a classroom basically live streaming and without me being right next to them. But then last night at the board meeting, Dr. Gianni had said that the way he said it, it sounded as if all the kids would be logging on, both the kids in the classroom and at home, and participating in the Google Meets. So my question was like, when would we know this is happening? Because there's not really any guidance as far as, is that really happening? Is your child going to be live? Is my child going to be viewing people's living rooms while they're in a class? Is there any more insight into that, or one direct answer that is concise that everyone has?
Yeah, I'm going to do my best. It's a couple of questions in there, so if I don't get them all, please remind me. As far as the idea is never room to have the camera on the kids in the classroom. It's always to be more focused on the front or the teacher. As far as all students, both at home and in school, on the Google Meet at the same time, I understood that's how we wanted to try that. If that don't go well, I would think that the kids in school can still hear the other kids who are at home on their Google Meets. And there will be a set time. The teachers are going to have set schedules, so they'll be able to let you know what time of day those Google Meets, Hangouts, whole class time is going to happen.
And then that will be, though, logging in wise, like if it's your cohort day and you're in person, are you viewing that on your Chromebook? Is the teacher displaying a screen of the kids at home? Like, how is that working?
Yeah, from what I understand, I don't think we're going to be displaying a screen of the kids at home. And I'll double check. From what understanding, it was a chance for the kids to all hear each other in a way, just so they know that they're part of the class, hear their friends. We are not looking to ID kids and ID people's living rooms or ID kids in the classroom or anything like that. The whole idea is that they can hear each other's voices and just be reminded that we're part of a larger class every day.
I'm going to ask another question, actually, based off the board meeting. It sounded like if a student is sent home with COVID symptoms, there isn't a set time frame where they would have to be tested. So how will that affect the effectiveness of contact tracing if tracing occurs by the health department once there's a positive case? For instance, if you send someone home on Monday and they choose not to get tested until the following Monday and they are positive, then all those children who were in the classroom or anyone who's come into contact with them has now been walking around for a week in contact with so many more people.
Yeah. What we have, I'll ask Dr. Gianni to step in and correct me if I'm wrong. If a child is sent home with COVID-19 symptoms, they can't return until a doctor's note clears them that they're okay to return to school. Now, I know that doesn't answer the question, well, what if the parent didn't get the test? But we do have a requirement that they must come in with a doctor's note that they're cleared for school. And that's kind of the guidance we have from the Department of Health right now.
Right, but that's not like for the contact tracing, because that child could be positive, but yet the Department of Health isn't investigating until there's a positive case. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. What if that kid actually was positive and the doctor made a misjudgment, sent them in anyway, and then 5 days later we find out the kid was positive? We lost the whole 5 days of contact tracing. That's kind of
there's no
right.
time frame. Like there,
Right.
it's not, you have to take them home and get tested within 24 hours. You can
Yeah.
get tested whatever and bring them back at your leisure, basically.
I
Yeah.
actually have another question to
Um,
bounce off of that, and it really comes down to COVID symptoms are very much like every other cold or flu type of thing that these kids or adults get. There's really no definitive like COVID symptom versus, ear infections, for instance, can have the same symptoms as COVID. So how does the school nurse or how does the staff, unfortunately, I feel bad that you guys have to determine that, but how do you guys say, oh, we think this is COVID, and meanwhile, it could just be a typical childhood thing?
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't diagnose kids in the school. All we can do is, and we, know what the symptoms are of COVID, and obviously it may not be COVID, it might be something else. But our plan is the guidelines to follow. If they have the COVID symptoms, they're brought to isolation, they are taken home, and we would hope that the parents will follow up with their physician. If it turns out it's something else, it's an ear infection, they come in with a note. But there's no, we can't diagnose the children in school. That's
Could
unfortunately
there
how it
be
is.
a time frame in place though? Like if you were sent home with symptoms, you need to see a doctor within 48 hours and report back to the school for contact tracing purposes.
I don't believe in the plan is a time that we're mandating that parents have to get to a doctor by, nor do I'm sure we can mandate that. I just know that they cannot return unless a doctor says they are clear to.
Yeah, I'll just step in. Unfortunately, there is not. And we're hopeful that when parents and children are sent home, parents will want to have their kids get back to school, and they'll have to get that documentation to be back. We can't force someone to take the test, unfortunately, but we can keep them out of school without the test, and that's what our plan is going to be. Fortunately, also, all the contact tracing, we will have the records from where that child would have been. To be able to do that in the event they did test positive. But there are no requirements that get tested within so many hours.
And then as far as the deep cleaning, on Wednesdays, how will the deep cleaning be done differently than the daily deep cleaning if the staff and special education students will still be in the building during the school hours? Like what would make that day stand out differently?
So I'll take that, and I'm going to get off and let you guys do that. So on Wednesdays, yes, it's true. There's kids there, and there's also many or faculty are there, but there's not as many people, and it'll allow us to move things around and do a deeper clean. And we also have these misting machines that will be used in addition to the cleaning that we are doing. And recognize that our deep cleaning is kind of a it's more of an enhanced cleaning, but the plan is to do the enhanced cleaning as per CDC guidelines, and then to go in with these misting machines to do that disinfecting that sticks to the surface.
And how many times will you be doing that weekly?
That is going to be happening on Wednesdays and on Saturdays.
So not daily.
No, the deep or the enhanced is not, but there'll be forced and frequent cleaning of all surfaces and frequently touched areas daily.
Okay, now as far as children with learning disabilities, are you going to be giving speech and occupational therapy in a video form for remote learning?
Are you referring to if the kid's on full-time remote learning?
Yes.
Yeah, from what I understand is that the speech would be something that would be virtual live. I know, and some of that was done last spring. As far as the OT and PT, that I have to look into more, because obviously that one is tougher to do virtually live. But we're going to explore that with the special education department to see how we can get these kids the best services that we can.
Okay, so now as far as this might be a question for everyone else as well. Now, if you aren't able to provide those services, are we able to get a letter from the administration so that we can provide it to our insurance company so that we can have a tutor covered?
I don't have an answer to that right now. That's something.
I could answer that. That would not be a possibility.
And why is that? Is that something that's not covered by insurance?
Because remote learning is an option, and that is your choice to take that option. We prefer that you do come in on the hybrid in person, where we would be able to provide those services.
And even although the circumstances, we can't have anybody come in because
No.
I'd be putting them at risk.
No, that's not accurate. We believe that we have developed a plan that will allow children to come in safely. It's the hybrid plan, provides for in-person teaching, and that is our number one choice. It is an option for remote learning.
But that's an opinion. That's an opinion that it's safe to come in, because I don't believe that it is safe.
Okay, well, and again, that's your choice though, to stay home.
But now, is there anybody that I could speak to in administration that I would be able to find out further about getting something so I can see if that's covered by insurance?
I think I'm the person that you would be talking to, and I'm telling you, it wouldn't be. I mean, I'd be happy to speak with you on the side.
Okay, that's fine.
At a later date, but I don't believe there's anything I would be able to provide for you.
Okay, yeah, we could speak later on one-to-one. That's fine.
Okay.
I had a question about the remote learning. Is it going to be on the same app that it was when we started doing the remote?
Do you mean on the Google Classroom?
Yes.
Yes, everyone will be on Google Classroom will be the platform that's being used.
Okay, and we will find out through the Google Classroom what teachers they will be having and stuff like that, or it's just.
Yeah, at the elementary level, the students are assigned to one classroom teacher, and that's going to be available on the portal on August 26th. So you'll know right then, who your child's teacher is.
Okay, I had a question about the portal because my son, he started in Creamer, I believe in February, because we had moved from Westchester, and I never got I tried doing the portal, but it asked me for the student ID, and I never received a student ID for him.
Yeah, Ms. Hernandez, if you'd like, just give me a call at the office tomorrow, and I'll help you get set up with that, okay?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mr. Clark, I have a question. Mr. Clark, I have a question.
Yes.
If I choose to do remote learning for my son who has inclusion classes like math and reading, what is he entitled to if we do remote learning?
What do you mean entitled to?
Like
as far as IP goes and services in the IP?
Yes, like would he still be able to get math and reading, or is that not an option?
Oh, you mean like math and reading AAS, which technically isn't like an IEP service. It's just a service to all students. And we are looking into how we are best going to provide that AAS and math reading support when the students are either at home on their non-on-site days or kids are fully remote. That is something we are trying to work out. It's pretty broad, but we are looking to get the support for all the kids.
Okay. Now I had another question. So with that being said, if I choose to do remote learning and then I want to phase him back into school, how does that work? Is that an option as well?
Yeah, what we're asking is, and Dr. Johnny spoke to this a little bit last night, we're asking that if you choose to start on all remote, that, if possible, don't come back until the end of the trimester. It could be very tough for us organizing things that way. As Dr. Johnny said, if your child's really struggling and you feel it's a real special circumstance, then you speak to your principal, and then they'll see if they can get your child in sooner than before the end of the trimester. Okay. Everything we handle on individual case, we got to look at the size of the cohorts and a lot of factors. But you just call your child's principal if they're struggling.
Okay.
In the city, in the city, that they have teachers who are allowed to stay home and teach from home. Is that the case in South Country for the reason why we don't have live instruction?
No, that's not the reason why we don't have live instruction. The live instruction comes down to broadband and the technology right now, the capacity to do it. That's what I understand. It's not because of teachers teaching from home or not. Right now, all teachers will be in teaching unless there's special circumstances and specific accommodations.
Hi, on
Thank you.
the sample schedule you provided, can you explain in the in-class schedule what the virtual science social study means if they're in class?
Yeah, we're still working on that. I think the virtual word may not have been the best. I think what we meant to say was they'll get in-class social studies science. I think it'll be more virtual for those at home. There'll be something in the Google Classroom regarding social studies science. It's not one of the lessons that where teachers are recording, and posting in there. It'll be more like it was in the spring for the social studies science. I'm not saying down the road that can't happen, but right now we're trying to focus on the heavy core ones, the reading, writing, and the math at the elementary, and to make that provide the most support for that.
But if they're in class why wouldn't they have a full day schedule while they're in class and have science and social studies? That's what I don't understand.
Sean, you're muted.
I apologize, everyone. I leaned on the mute button. The kids in class will have social studies science time. I apologize the way that, and I'm looking at it now, that virtual word. Yeah.
Mr. Clark?
It is.
I have a question. Now, for kindergartners, because I was told that they have to bring the Chromebooks back and forth from school when they're in class. How are the kindergartners supposed to learn how to write, like their name, their letters, if they're using the Google Classroom in class on a computer?
They're not solely going to be using on the computer in class. The main purpose of bringing the laptop to and from school is if on any given day we get ordered, we have to close down, we want to make sure the kid has the Chromebook with them at home. We don't want to be caught off guard like we were in the spring, right? We want everyone to be able to pivot if we get closed down and everyone's at home. And remember, we want the kids to learn how to use the Chromebook too. So that's why we want it in school, so the teachers can also show them how to use it. Children are still going to be children. The kindergartners are not going to be working exclusively on the Chromebook.
Just asked what the virtual social science stuff and the in-person was. He's like, "Ooh, that was I could see that's misleading."
Yeah, and I'm looking at that now. I think that virtual word probably shouldn't be there. It'd be virtual for those people at home. Once again, we apologize for that.
Quick question. If someone has to quarantine or they're sick, but they can go online, I know this came up the other night, if it's going to be a 14-day span, so they'd usually be in, my son would be in kindergarten Thursday, Friday. If he can go on remote, will then that count as him attending, so he's not losing all that attendance?
I'm going to let Dr. Janet correct me wrong, but if a kid is quarantined because of mandated quarantine and they're going on remotely to the classroom, I would think they would be considered marked present. Dr. Janet, is that correct?
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So if he can't go on Thursday, Friday, he can sign on virtually Thursday, Friday with the other cohort then to do those assignments?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the parents asked a good question that I haven't even tackled yet, was what if my child is sick and stays home, but then logs in? Is he sick or is he there?
Yeah.
I think he's there, but to be honest with you, I want to check because
they're forced to quarantine, so even if he only had a sniffle or something, but he still hasn't been cleared to come back, but he can go online, he shouldn't, you know what I'm saying, be penalized for that necessarily.
And I'll just, I'm sorry I jumped in. I'll add to that if your son or daughter has a sniffle, we want you to keep them home, right? So I'll tell you right now, then it does count.
I had a question regarding the remote learning. Do we have to log in the beginning of the day? Like if I come out of work later and I start doing his homework later on, does that still count, the attendance, the time that I count as long as it's that day?
Yes, we'll find a way. We're asking if at all possible, is there any way for your child to just get in there and log in just for a moment, just the instructional day makes it easier to do the attendance. Obviously, we know that might be impossible for some families, but you know, we don't want to cause extra anxiety for anyone during these times.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for remote learners. Last year with the remote learning, the teachers had started by uploading the week's work, which was helpful because we were able to be ahead of our child with the math and the social studies and stuff. What is the plan for that? Are they going to do a week's ahead? Are they doing, is that for each teacher to decide?
Yeah, that's one of the things we're looking at and working out. Can we do it like we did last year? Because now the teachers are going to be basically teaching, with the exception of Wednesday, a full day in their classes. So we're going to look at how the most efficient way to get assignments up into the Google Classroom. I don't believe we can do it at the volume or the advanced notice we did last time, just to be honest. But it's one of the things we are looking at closely. There's just a lot of moving parts here. It's a lot of new for all of us. And we just want to make it as enriching for the kids as we can. And, you know, we want to support our teachers in a lot of, you know, like I said, a lot of new challenges for them as well.
Yeah, that would be great because if we, you know, if there are a couple of assignments that maybe, you know, parents could help them with over the weekend or something,
Yeah.
you know, that probably would be helpful.
I mean, you can access the Google Classroom on weekends, Sunday, whenever. So if you still had work you wanted to do from that week, you know, that's something that's always accessible.
Okay.
I actually have a question about the teachers. I'm not more because I'm worried that the teachers are going to be, I really care about our teachers. I'm worried that they're going to be spread really thin. It's almost like they're teaching two separate classes. Meanwhile, it's all one class, one roster, but they have to spread themselves through the remote learning and the hybrid classes. Is that going to, you know, become too much?
It's not just you. I'm very concerned about how much they have on their plates. And what I can say is we have other staff. We have reading, math teachers, other staff that, at least for the start, you know, maybe we're looking at models where they can go in and push and provide assistance with a lot of this stuff. These are things we're looking at. We're looking at using every single body in that school we can. But the one, and while we're all unsettled about this, one thing that I think solid in that day is that we have the most incredibly child-centered teachers in this district. I mean, and they just don't stop trying for their kids.
Amazing,
I mean,
teachers
17
in this district. Amazing.
and I marvel with what they pull off pre-COVID sometimes. I mean, simply amazing. So I do take some comfort in knowing we have the best of the best here. And we're going to do everything we can to support them. And we have to say, everyone, listen, this is going to be far from ideal, we know, right? It's far from perfect. We're going to have road bumps. We're going to have hiccups with the technology. Please bear with us. Please work with us. Nothing's intentional to inconvenience anyone or frustrate. We're just going to be doing the best we can. And we know there's going to be some hurdles we haven't even anticipated yet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question regarding the remote learners. When it comes to testings, because my son will be going to the 3rd grade, I know that there's a big test on the 3rd grade. How would we go about doing the testing when it comes to parents who choose completely remote learning?
Are you referring to the state tests?
Yes.
We're going to cross that bridge to see what's going to be happening. We don't even know if the state will be giving them again this year, but we're going to have to cross that bridge as we get closer to the spring. I imagine if we're still on this model, that the state will have to make some provision for those who are on fully remote learning and parents who are still not comfortable sending their kids in. So it's really going to be based on whatever updated guidance we get from the state through the year, but I can't give an answer on that because we haven't been given any direction yet on that.
Okay.
I have a question. My question is, if one of the students falls sick in the classroom during the course of the day while teaching, what precautions are in place for something like that?
Sorry, Ms. Parvati, just repeat that one more time.
If one of the students falls sick during the day while in the classroom, and, you know, for instance, you might not know they have symptoms of the COVID, what will be in place for something like that?
Well, just like anything, anytime a kid's feeling ill, the teacher will call down to the nurse, say, our student needs to come down. And the nurse is going to assess the student based on that assessment. They might just stay in their office. They might end up in the isolation room. Everything's gonna be case by case. But just like any year, kids get sick during the day. We know it's gonna happen. And so we're gonna trust our medical professionals to do the assessments and make the necessary phone calls.
Okay, thank you.
What kind of time frame will this current program be reassessed? Is it going to be by semester, every month, for any possible changes for everything?
And Dr. Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the word of the year is fluid. And everything is going to be fluid, right? Based on changing conditions, whether with this virus, whether with state guidelines, whether with educational mandates. So my guess is this plan is going to be getting updated, you know, through the year. Because, and like I told my staff the other day, the answer to a question today may not be the same answer 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months from now, because
Right, yes.
things are changing. So the word is fluid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you guys should really take into consideration the remote. I am a teacher. I work in New York City, and myself, I'm staying home to do remote teaching. And in the spring, it was really hard for me to teach and also tend to my kindergartner with writing and things like that. And, you know, in my situation, I can help my child, but those parents who are not versed with, you know, the school, and, you know, you really have to sit with your child during writing and math. And I feel the remote children are going to really feel it. They're gonna, because they're not getting live instruction. I mean, the social emotional piece that you guys are providing, I think that's great. And I know you don't have all these tricks up your sleeves, you know, but this is something you should consider in the future for the remote children. I mean, it's not their fault. You know, we have sick parents, we have things like
Yes.
that, why we can't send kids to the school.
Yeah, Patrick.
It's not because, you know, we're afraid of the kids, you know, kids are resilient and whatever, but in my case, I can't send my daughter to school.
Okay, I just want to respond to that.
So,
I do know we are going to make Wednesday, one of the main focuses is going to be connecting with the kids on full remote learning. Like that's one of the big priorities for that day. I know that's only one day, but there will be some live connection at that time. And like I said, we're also looking to utilize other, not test teachers, but other related, you know, service providers in the building to possibly reach out more frequently. Can't promise, but we're looking at all avenues. And you're right, you know, this is hard. This is hard on some parents, and there's no easy answer here. But we're going to do everything we can to keep these kids engaged and moving forward.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick question about pre-K. I don't know if you can answer that, but my question is how come the pre-K is not getting buses? I mean, I work and I don't know how I'm going to be able to drive him back and forth.
I'm going to defer either to Mr. Ginty or Dr. Gianni on the buses.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, the transportation for pre-K was not included in the budget this year. It was a financial decision on the part of the board that we had a very difficult budget year, and the pre-K buses were in the neighborhood of $550,000, and it was very much needed to be able to close the gap in terms of preparing a budget.
But out of everything, pre-K is the only ones that aren't getting bused?
That's because it's not required. It's not required for busing. Pre-K is not required busing.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I understand, first of all, thank you I'm a teacher as well, so I understand the obstacles. My son will be in school on Thursdays and Fridays. So I guess my question is, on the Monday, Tuesdays, is it going to be similar lessons to the Thursday, Friday? Or is it going to be completely different where those are, okay, you're already shaking your head.
Yeah, it's different. We're going with their curriculum, probably some modifications along the way, but the whole point of recording the parts of the lessons and getting them up on the Google Classroom is that everyone gets the lessons on those days, whether they're in person or home.
Okay, so I guess I'm on the fence right now. I've been leaning towards doing the dual language, and I just have some concerns with that, with like what I will actually be able to help and provide with at home, and what that will look like when he's actually in school.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a separate parent meeting set up regarding dual language, and a lot of the questions, Tatiana, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's being set up.
That is accurate.
All right, thank you.
I have a question, please.
Okay.
Mr. Sean, I have a newborn and I have an experience. I'm not comfortable sending my kids second grade and kindergarten. My question is, the last time I had problem going through with Spanish classes for them, and because I don't speak Spanish, and the music class, I don't know music. So what preparation do you have for children that are learning remotely to have those, because I know those are part of their school curriculum, to have that available to them, like the Spanish learning and the physical education or the music class?
I have to apologize. I couldn't fully understand you. Would you just repeat it one more time? I'm sorry.
Okay, what I'm asking is, I have a newborn and I have an aged parent at home. So I'm not comfortable sending my kids to school.
Okay.
One of them in second grade and the other one, she's going in kindergarten. My question now is, the last time, school session, we had challenge going through the Spanish lesson class for them and the PE class and the music class, which they didn't touch at all because I don't know music and I don't understand Spanish. So what provision do you have for kids that are learning remotely from home on those subjects? On what should we do for them to handle those subjects? Because I know it's part of their school curriculum.
Okay, if I'm understanding, you're saying for those who are fully home remote, what are we doing for special areas like music and physical education and things like that?
And Spanish, yes.
Well, we don't teach Spanish here in the elementary grades. It might be a dual language class, it might be, but I can just speak. I know all the special areas will have Google Classrooms. They will be putting activities in the Google Classrooms. I'm not sure what you mean by the Spanish class. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
But okay, the physical education and the music class, what happens?
Yeah, those teachers will have Google Classroom set up. There will be activities. Like I said, we're looking, while they're going to be teaching fully on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesdays, hopefully there'll be time for them to connect with students, to have a Google Meet, to upload their own videos. So once again, it's a work in progress. Honestly, we have been focusing right on the core academic subjects first, but all those special ed teachers are more than eager to get going and make sure the kids get a well-balanced education. I know these special ed teachers, and they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I have a quick question. I applaud each and every one of you, for trying to put things in place because, COVID came unexpected and there's so many different changes, not just for you, but for us, the parents. And, I applaud you guys because there's so many changes that you got to input. And there's so many responsibility now as teachers to be juggling around the classroom and even the remote learning. And I know just as you adjust, myself and other parents, they are doing the same thing. But just a question, for parents who are deciding, okay, I want to do probably partial virtual learning or, on part school days, is that an option? Or we have to go full partial learning until the next session? How does that work? I don't know if this is a question that was asked before.
It was, but I'll happily answer it again. Basically, if you start off on the hybrid, okay, the in 2 days, out 3 days, and you decide this ain't working right, or I'm not comfortable as mom, and I want to pull my kid back to all 5 days remote, that you can basically do, at any time. That's easy for us to accommodate. However, if you start off on the fully remote,
Yes.
okay, we're asking that that is a semester commitment, because bringing kids back in is a little more complicated depending on what the class and the cohorts are looking at the time. I'm not saying it can't be done. You reach out to your principals, tell them the situation, the circumstance, and if possible, and if, you know, if really dire, you know, they'll find a way to get you in sooner than the end of the.
Okay, yeah, because I totally understand that, because I understand that certain classroom is going to have a certain number of students, so you can't just welcome any kid back in quickly because of the readjustments that, you know, would need to take place. So totally understand. One other question: if for some reason, you know, we start off the virtual learning, and you know, we decide, okay, for the rest of the year, you know, we want to keep the child home, or the semester, would that affect now the attendance level based on school?
No, as I said before in the presentation, we have to take attendance for every child in this district, whether they're at home or in school. And that's where we're encouraging all students, whether they're home on one of their, you know, 3 days, or you're a full remote kid, to log into the Google Classroom during the school day just once. It's okay if you can't do the assignments or anything until later. That'll help us a huge amount in having accurate attendance for your child, because we are required to take attendance whether kids are on remote or in school.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, sorry, no other parents has questions, but just quickly, I know you're going to number the students per teachers. How is it going to work, like for the cleanliness and sanitizing, whatever they would be using as they get ready for the next classroom, or from students to students? Do you guys have extra staff in place to do that, so the teachers won't have to be doing that?
Well, the way the hybrid works is the students at elementary level are really not going to be moving to class to class. The specials, the music, the art, the PE will be pushed. And the only movement might be is when they're taken outside for an activity by one of those special teachers or their classroom teachers. But for those 2 days they're in, that desk is theirs. Like, no one else is touching that desk.
Right, but what about the stuff that they use? Because I know, like in pre-K, they have stuff that they have them use, you know, paintbrush, books, toys, different things.
There is no sharing of supplies this year. There'll be no, 4 or 5 hands in a box of
Awesome.
bucket
Yes.
of crayons. We're going to ask, if you look at the supply list, that every kid has their own supplies. They can put in a nice, what they call the little pen, pencil
Yes.
organizers, and and that's it. It's theirs. There's no sharing or corporate use of.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually have one. I have one question regarding kindergarten. I don't have a kindergartner, but I do know how the kindergarten classrooms are set up, at least at Brookhaven. They use tables. They don't have individual desks. How are you socially distancing those kindergartners that have to? There used to be, like, 4 or 5 students at a table.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's good.
actually, it's the same as any other grade. One thing that might happen is we're going to use desks, individual desks, or just one small trapezoid or rectangle table per child. So they will not be in groups.
Okay.
Or you should provide acrylic dividers so you can have them sectioned off.
Yeah, I actually saw some of them online, and they look great. So I guess these are all things we'll look at down the road, but as at this point, we're 2 weeks out, we're probably going to have to open up with, unfortunately, kids seated 6 feet apart. And I understand, also, as educators, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, those little ones, they typically learn 6 feet apart. They learn together, so it's a challenge for them, and it's going to be a challenge for us.
Okay, and now the school starts on September 8th. When do you propose that you'll have all of your final answers by? Because I know everything is changing, every 2 days or whatever it is, but there has to be a time where you guys know everything at one point, at least a week before school.
Yes.
We're going to know as much as we can. We're going to have enough to, to started safely, kids in and out, education. I can't give you the drop dead date, and I don't know if there'll ever be a final answer. Some stuff have a final answer, others won't, but I can't give it, because, like I said, more and more questions come up, and then we have to roll through them and see how it works in with everything else. So I know that's not the answer you wanted to hear. I know it's not a great answer. It's the only answer I can give you at this time, sir.
I understand.
So I just want confirmation on the classroom. So if my children are going Thursday and Friday, will children Monday and Tuesday be sharing the same desks?
What were two scenarios? One, they could be, but those desks will be completely sanitized between the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. In some buildings, in some rooms where we have extra desks that we can sometimes fit next to another desk, then the kids could use the alternating desks. And I can explain that easier if you give me a call or you call your principal. So it all depends on each building, each layout. But I can assure you, there is a full and thorough cleaning between the Monday, Tuesday cohort and that Thursday, Friday.
But that's going to be a problem because you just said each student is going to have their own desk with their own supplies. So then if the students on Monday and Tuesday is using that same desk, what happens to that kid's supply?
No, there's a couple things. First of all, the supplies may have to travel to and from them. We are looking to where kids can actually keep their supplies stored in a bin and kept on a shelf somewhere in the room that they'll only touch again when they're in. So it's not like your child's supplies are going to be laying loose in the desk and the next kid's going to come in and start using your kid's pencils on those days. Any supplies will either go back with the kid or they'll be secured in the classroom and no one can touch them except your child.
I mean, perhaps they should actually do something where they have each child before class starts clean their desks. And that should just be part of their daily routine.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's good.
I can assure you, they come in the morning, those desks will have been fully sanitized from the night before.
But between each classroom?
Principal Clark,
I'm sorry.
Principal Clark, my niece in North Carolina, they're actually having them keep all their supplies in their knapsack. So it never leaves their knapsack. Their knapsack is sitting next to their desk while they do in-school learning, and everything is taken out, put onto their desk as they use it, and then they place it back into their knapsack.
Yeah.
It's an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the ideas we had, that mostly everything will come back and forth. But we're also trying to be sensitive, you know, like, I mean, obviously stuff you need at home has to go back and forth, but pens and scissors and glue sticks, you know, I think these little 5-year-olds, man, you got a Chromebook in your backpack and you got a notebook and you got a lunch bag, you know, it's a lot for these kids. So if we can do something to alleviate where we can have some individual storage, all right, that's what we're looking at, where only they would touch that when they're in that, when other kids are in that, put aside, locked in another part of the room. We want to try to help these kids so they're not, you know, walking around, you know, breaking their backs too. You know.
So that would, so maybe just adding like a supply, not a pencil box, but like a supply box where you would put like arts and crafts, something like that, that has a lid that all the students could have their names on it, and then it would be taken away from the desk, put in the designated area is a good idea.
That's exactly, you just said it better than I was trying to say that. And we've looked at individual bins that once that cohort leaves, those bins get put away until they come back again. That, you said it much better than me. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I have one more question. Is there going to be any orientation for the new 4th graders coming into Frank P. Long?
I just looked over to Principal Wazinski and Assistant Principal Ulberg, and they told me they are working on something. So that's something you'll be hearing from them.
Okay, because I know my little bean is a little bit nervous about entering a brand new school, especially with all these adults being masked up and everything. You got to imagine it from their point of view.
Oh, no, I completely get it. I'm nervous, all right?
Yeah, I mean, if she's there listening to me, maybe she can do like a Zoom thing where she walks through the school just to give these kids an idea of what they're going to be looking at.
Yep, I just got a thumbs up. They're on it. They're working on it. You'll be hearing from Frank P. Long.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Now, as far as the remote learning goes,
okay.
I'm sorry. As far as the remote learning goes, I saw that you guys had like a video tutorial. Now, I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe perhaps there's multiple ones, but I do recommend that you guys change the audio or redo it because the audio is really piercing. It hurts your ears when you listen to it. And I know that a lot of people won't they won't want to listen to something like that. So perhaps you guys can make an instruction video that's very simple to follow, showing each course that you have to teach from English, math, social studies. Click on each individual link. And in this way, you won't have so many questions with people following up.
Okay, I took note of that. I'm going to look into that, give it to tech, and I got to see what exactly you're referring to. But if you're right, if the audio is piercing or it's painful, no one's going to want to listen to it. So I thank you for the information.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Will masks be provided for the kids, like the right type of mask to be used at school, or are kids allowed to come with any mask in the classroom?
We are asking kids to bring their own mask or cloth face covering. Should a kid arrive without it, or maybe the band snaps, as mine has already done, we have masks in the schools. Every class will actually have extra masks. So in the classrooms, by the office, they're going to have extra masks should a kid need one.
Because the reason I'm asking that, I know certain places you go to, not any mask could be worn. So they ask you, like the cloth mask, they ask you to remove it and wear the surgical mask.
Yeah, I mean, the guidelines we're following, it's just cloth, face covering, or a surgical mask. So that's what we're going with.
Okay.
Does pre-K also have to wear a mask, or is that just anything older than pre-K students?
I just looked over to Principal Ginty, and he gave me the affirmative that, yes, they have to wear masks.
They do. I mean, my 3-year-old is not going to keep it on the entire time. I can tell you that.
We know it's. I mean, obviously, you consider the age level of the kids, and we know like there's going to be mask breaks, right? And depending on the age of the kids, maybe those mask breaks more frequently. I'm not the pre-K principal. I know Mr. Ginty is working. Yeah, a lot of discretion for the teachers, especially for those 3- and 4-year-olds.
Is there any sort of, you had said before that there's no buses, but how can all these parents pull up at the same time and drop the kids off? I mean, is there any sort of staggered drop off so 60 or 70 cars aren't lined up for the same day?
I'm going to bring Mr. Ginty over for a moment to answer that more specifically
I
for you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Just a really quick question. How are you guys going to do cleaning? Are you working with the bus companies on cleaning in between bus runs?
I'll tell you, I'll let Mr. Ginty answer the prior question, and then Dr. Gianna.
The cleaning of the buses will be done daily and in between runs.
Thank you.
Okay, to answer the pre-K question, obviously we had buses, now we have parent transportation. We are working out the system using our semicircle and the parking lot to the side of the building. The updated parent drop-off and pickup is going to be posted on the webpage.
But there's going to be no staggered times. We're all going to be lined up at the same time.
No, there will be. The drop-off time is usually, as with last year, for parents who chose not to use the buses, they're going to be coming in within the same 5 to 8 minutes or so. What I'm saying is we are going to prepare a diagram of that and post it on the webpage using the semicircle and the side parking lot.
Okay.
And now are the doors going to be wide open, or is everybody going to be touching the same handles to come in?
No, well, we'll have staff. We have security team members for each entrance access point. We will be handling the doors, not the students, and parents will not be coming into the building.
So how is pickups going to work? Obviously, my young child can't run across the parking lot and find us. How do you pick these children up?
So agreed, the same as with last year, the staff from the building, including myself, will be walking out with the children.
So we pull the car up and you come to the car and see what child we're there for? Is that the way this works?
Correct.
Okay, and IDs will be checked, I hope, for every parent, making sure that that child is where they're going?
Yes, we have to follow all district protocols, and obviously that will, in the first few days, will take much more time, but as we get to know everyone's faces and a child to the face, just like every other building, it will be a very smooth operation.
Right. I mean, I'm just thinking now, it sounds like that's something that could take a very long time with all these young children getting out of their car seats every single day lined up.
Yeah,
Rita, it went very well last year when I did the pickup for my elementary student. They had it down very smoothly, so I can back you guys up on that.
Yeah, our system will be the same as any other start of year I've ever been in the business. What you do is make sure of what you said. As a parent, we have the same priority concern is the safety of the student. So we want to make sure that the child has a instructional day that's effective. They're going to have a safe drop-off, and a very safe departure. Again, we have always, with last year included, had a tremendous amount of staff present to make sure that that is what occurs. We were very proud of the product we gave to you and your children last year. We expect no different simply because of the fact there are no buses. In fact, with busing, that tends to actually run a little longer the first couple of weeks because of the routes and such. We won't have that to contend with.
And how are you guys going to basically, I mean, in such a manner, like force the kids to wear the masks if they're young kids, like 5 years old?
Well, it's with any other age group. We're not forcing a child to wear the mask. Most children by now, all of the ones that I know, and I have young children myself, they have become accustomed to wearing a mask. Now, if a child is refusing to wear a mask as a pre-K, we are not going to consider that child insubordinate per se, but we are going to help the child with the practice of wearing that mask. It's a safety issue that can not be ignored for any age group.
Only because of the aerosols in the air. I mean, unless you guys have a specialized air, filtration system, how are you, those aerosols are going to stay in the air. Kids will get sick.
I'm not following you there. They'll have aerosols because they're not wearing a mask?
Well, anybody who coughs or sneezes produces aerosols in the air. Those aerosols stay inside of the air for a certain period of time. So if everyone is in that classroom, yes, it can be passed along. But that's
okay.
If the kids aren't wearing masks.
Again, what we're going to have occur, though, if a child is non-compliant and needs to be removed from the setting, as with any other safety issue, that's what will occur.
Okay, I'm only saying also because you also have parents who don't believe in the masks, so that would be a problem that's passed on to the children. They might tell the kids, don't wear a mask.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have to work with all types of people, and they have all different perspectives on a mask. But you can have a perspective or not on a mask. We must have the same compliance for all public school students. It's that simple.
Yeah, safety.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I do want to touch base on one thing. The schools, just for the parents that are incoming, the schools are really, really great about getting your kids to where they need to be. So if you have a new student going into any of the schools, whether it be South Haven School, any of the elementary schools, or even Frank P., just know that the staff is going to get your kids to their classes. They're going to be fine. You don't have to worry about that. I understand that there's going to be some, hesitance, and kids are going to be nervous, but the staff is really great in all the buildings. And as far as the security measures, I know that we do have issues that we're supposed to be following protocols, like the doors are not supposed to be open during the school day and so on and so forth. Are those security measures going to be taken down, or are we adding more responders because of that for the other safety issues that we've been dealing with for years, as opposed to, just adding COVID to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Town, we're not having more responders. Exterior doors to the building are locked all the time, regardless. I mean, it's not changing.
But the classroom doors, I know for a fact that the classroom doors are not supposed to be open at all.
No,
is that changing?
Yes, it is changing. Yes, I understand that in normal times, classroom doors, due to various codes, are supposed to be closed. Under this circumstance, the guidance you've been given is that keep windows and the classroom doors open.
Oh, so the windows will remain open then in the classrooms?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Flores, can you say that one more time?
So the windows will be open for more circulation.
Oh, absolutely. Windows and doors. Yeah, we want to get as much air
Yeah.
and flow in there as we can. Absolutely, sir.
Okay, but obviously in the wintertime you can't for that, you know.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
yeah. Although I got to be honest, you know, I mean, you still may be able to, you know, we'll see what we can do with those heating controls. So when it's really cold, you probably can't, but, you know, we're going to do the best we can, you know, just keep those windows open.
I understand. Yeah. No, I understand. It's a tough position. I get it.
Yeah.
How are they doing the mask breaks? Are they doing them at their desks, or how are like these mask breaks? What are they doing for them?
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, they'll probably be at their desks. You know, it's right now the kind of guidelines about every 40 to 45 minutes, 5-minute mask break. Now, technically, if the class happens to be outside for some lesson or something to do outside, then obviously that mask break could take place outside, but that's kind of how it's going to happen. And like we said, you know, right now, we know, especially September, June, you know, given environmental conditions, we do want to permit the teachers to use their discretion to give more frequent breaks if necessary. Our teachers have the pulse of their kids. They all put their kids' health and safety first. And I trust the judgment of our teachers if needed to give more frequent breaks.
If they're outside, are they gonna still be wearing their mask, or are they gonna be allowed to have it off, like if they're playing outside as a kindergartner?
Yeah, as of now, we're going to have the masks on because, you know, it's very easy to get close when you're playing outside, you know, and it's unfortunate. We've been kicking this around. I'm not saying it won't change, but I think right now we're talking that the masks will be on.
Okay.
I'm not saying I like it or it's great, but that's looks like what's got to be right now.
Now, let's say that if the parents were to provide their own acrylic safety divider, is that something that we could our children? And I know that in classes that's a problem. Like, can we assign it to their desk and install it?
I'm Dr. Johnny, I don't think so because there's a lot of rules and regulations regarding what's brought into buildings and.
Yeah, that's problematic because there are only certain materials that are permitted in schools. However, I have seen these portable sneeze guards.
Yeah.
And if your child shows up with that and goes home with that, that's perfectly acceptable. But in terms of bringing something and leaving it on the desk, that is going to be problematic.
Okay. Only because he won't be able to disassemble it himself. That's a problem.
I'm sorry. I've seen some of these real neat fold-ups that fold up pretty small. So and they don't need assembly. They just unfold kind of like the science project bulletin boards that you see, but they're clear.
That's a good option.
I have a question.
Yes.
Now, for a special needs child that had, let's say, an elopement in their plan, with the doors being open at this time, is there going to be a new plan? Is there something we can review?
Yeah, that's going to be an individual case-by-case basis based on the child, children in the classroom, what the requirements are in the classroom. May not be able to have the door open, or is there more specific staff to be positioned well? You know, like I said, I can't speak specifically unless I know the child, the whole class, and where, you know, is. But I can assure you that any of those special, you know, situations, if a kid is an eloper, we're not just going to leave the door open for them to take a 50-yard sprint down the hall.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now, I'm sorry, one more question with the insurance. Now, as far as I know that Ed brushed up about the occupational therapy and the speech, but as far as normal classes, English, science, math, etc., is that something that could be covered for children for a tutor?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Gianni on that. I don't believe so, but I'm going to defer to Dr. Gianni.
No, again, no. We were providing in-person teaching and learning, and it's going to be your option to do remote. I'm not familiar with your insurance policy or your coverage. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you really have to check with them, but honestly, I think not.
Only because I've heard that you can actually do it. This is the reason why I'm.
Oh, okay. You have more knowledge than me. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's not going to be covered, but you need to check with your insurance carrier.
Okay, but if that's the case, we could just if we need any a note or anything, that's something that we would just ask for the principal, or.
Well, it would depend upon. I don't want you to think that it's just to be a note that we can fill out. It would depend upon what is requested from us. Okay.
Okay, I have to look into
Yeah,
it.
I would check with the principal, and the principal would forward it to central office for review.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I just have one more question in regards to the school buildings. Now at the K through 5, at least at Brookhaven, I can only speak for that school because I know the layout very well. Each individual classroom has its own bathroom. Frank P. Long, they use a communal bathroom. Now I know that we're doing the logins and stuff like that, but how are the bathrooms going to be cleaned in between? Because I know that manpower is lacking. So how are the bathrooms going to be cleaned? Outside supplies, shareable, like maybe a basketball, whatever. How is that stuff going to be cleaned in between usage? Particularly in the classrooms, are the teachers going to need to clean the bathrooms in between their students if they use them, or how's that going to go?
No, the teachers will not be cleaning bathrooms in between their students. Basically, we're encouraging with the bathrooms in the classrooms, good hard hand washing from the kids. If there's like any time, pre-COVID, a mess in the bathroom or a kid, has an accident, obviously they'll call the custodian for the cleanup. Custodians won't be going into every single classroom after every single kid uses the bathroom though.
Okay. So there is a chance that even with the hand washing, kids are kids. What if they sit down on a seat and then there's I know it's being extreme, but they sit down on a seat and they get something on their clothes or whatever, and now they're touching their back or they're putting their hands down their pants. I've seen it. I know the little ones, they do it all the time. And it's like, even if they wash their hands before and after the bathroom, they still have a chance to touch their face or whatever.
Yeah, listen, unfortunately, you hope most kids go in, if they see something, they'll come out and say to the teacher, there's something in there or whatever, So, however, if it happens, we'll handle it as we always do. We'll get the kid down to the nurse, change the clothes, clean up, wash up good. And like I said, you're right, the little ones, it's hard sometimes to stop touching their face, and nothing's, 100%, but we're going to encourage. Yeah, as much hand washing. I encourage all parents to spend a lot of time just talking to kids the importance of hand washing, the good hygiene. Try to avoid touching the face as much as possible, and that's all we can do, is do our best to.
It's precautionary. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all.
It's definitely
all we can
precautionary.
Do.
It's not
The mask
100%
too,
foolproof.
practice that, yeah, and all that.
Yeah. Okay.
This is hard for kids. Imagine how it must be for children. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. I don't think that, it's not easy. No one's going to argue it's easy. Listen, this is a lousy situation we're in, okay? I mean, no one likes it. No one wants it. But we got to play the hand that's dealt, and we're going to play the hand the best we can and keep all of our students and faculty and staff safe throughout, and at the same time give them an education. But it's no one's going to lie and say this is ideal. Don't worry, everything's perfect. That's not the case.
Hi, Mr. Clark. I have a question about grading.
Sure.
I know in the spring, for elementary at least, most of it was based on effort.
Mm-hmm.
Are the students going to be graded now based on their work?
Yeah. Obviously, grading, it's going to be different than what it was in the spring. And that's something we have to look at, but because we are going to have kids now, many will probably be in school sometime, and those who aren't will be watching videos and completing assignments. So we're going to have to, probably reconvene one of our report card committees, grading committees, to see what is the fairest way to do it. So it truly, the report card can be a reflection of the child's current skills and knowledge learner. So it's definitely going to be different. I'm not sure it'll be exactly the same
right.
that it was, All right, but we have to find the appropriate spot, where we're fairly assessing and kids are, held accountable. At the same time, we're sensitive to some of the needs of families and some of the struggles that our families have, and it's all about balance in the end. And I know, once again, with the awesome people we have, we'll get together a district team to figure that out.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because if you fail the children, then obviously you're behind. If you pass them, they're going to be you're behind when they try to go back for the next grade. So what do you do in that situation? Is there possibilities for summer school?
Well, I can just speak in past summers, pre-COVID. We've always run a summer program for select students, depending on their current guiding, their guiding meeting levels, to give them the extra support over the summer. This year, that was virtual. We did have it, but it was done virtually over the computer. So I imagine next summer we'll probably have a similar program, but I can't say because that's almost a year away now. But for the past several years, we have had summer support for those kids who were behind and have been struggling a bit. Anyone else?
Folks, if you can just wrap up your questions. I don't mean to push you. It's just that at 4:30 we do need to prepare for the secondary meeting. So if you do have any more questions, please ask them of Mr. Clark and the principals.
Hey, Mr. Clark, I just had a question most pertaining, I guess, to the remote learners. I know it was mentioned about that there would be live help. How would the student access that?
Yeah, that's something that would have to be set up, a Google Meet with the kids, a link shared with the child, the family, in either the Google Classroom or some other manner. So it's just through communication, all right? But it would be a link to what we'll probably often use is a Google Meet in most cases.
All right, thanks. And thanks to all you guys trying to figure this out. I know it's not easy. Thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, guys. And well, and my last question will actually be this. I just wanted to find out. I know it's hard for you guys to figure out when you will get the answers, but approximately when do you think you'll have an answer of whether you'll be doing videos for the remote learning for the children? And I know you had touched on reading and writing, but when will you find out about the other subjects?
All right. Well, we're doing for remote kids. They will have the videos for reading, writing, and math. I don't have a date for the other subjects. Elementary, there's not an incredible amount of other subjects except the social studies and science. We have literacy, math, social studies, and science. So that's where we're at. But I don't have a date when I could say that there'll be videos, or if there will be videos for social studies and science.
Is it possible we can have the teachers give us a progress report weekly for the remote learners so that we can just know how our child is doing rather than waiting for the report card?
I think that would be rather difficult to try to do a weekly progress report with everything going on. I think what I encourage any parents to do, if you're curious about how your child's doing, you shoot that teacher an email, and I'm sure our teachers are happy to correspond with you. I encourage all parents, whenever you want to just know how your kid's doing or you have a question, just shoot your teacher an email. All right. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. I hopefully we're a little helpful in answering some of your questions, and hopefully we can relieve some of that anxiety I know everyone's feeling. I encourage you, if you need us here, your principals are here, and we'll do everything we can to make the best experience for your child and make our parents feel at ease as most as we can. And I just want to say thank you. I know we have many teachers who joined us today, and I can't thank you enough for your support this summer and working so hard to make this happen. And I just want, on behalf of Principal Wazinski, Principal Manziotti, Principal Raymond, Assistant Principal Calamaris, Assistant Principal Oberg, and Principal Ginty, we thank you so much. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Have a good day.
And just as a reminder, folks, if you have not already, Friday is the deadline. If you do plan to use the remote learning option, the link is on our website. In addition, if you plan on driving your child to school, that link is there as well. That will be very helpful for us in our planning purposes. And I join Mr. Clark in thanking you all for sharing this time with us, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.